We now have a quorum. The commissioners are in the room. So we're going to get started. Thank you. Tonight is Tuesday, January 12th. It is a Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing, and we have a general meeting after, time permitting. We are in room 213 in Town Hall and also doing this via GoToMeeting on virtual meeting. So without further ado, we'll get right into it. First item on the agenda is continuation of a public hearing regarding a coastal site plan review number 351 flood application number 403, Sanford and Deborah Rich, 26 Beach Drive. Proposal to construct and install a new dock in the same location consisting of a fixed pier, ramp, and platform, and to perform related site development activities within regulated areas. The 0.31 plus minus acre subject property is located on the west side of Beach Drive at the southwest corner formed by its intersection with Oak Outlet Drive, and is shown on Assessor's map 53 as lot number 9 in the R1.5 zone. The public hearing was originally opened on November 24th, 2020. All the commissioners got a ton of application information in that prior to that meeting. So in this meeting, just for everyone's edification, commissioners did not get a whole lot of documentation because it was sent to us prior. But all this stuff is on the webpage. Jim Rand is here also. Jeremy, you want to take what's going on first?
Sure. As you mentioned, Steve, this hearing was originally opened on November 24th and immediately continued to December 1st, January 5th, and to tonight. No testimony has yet been taken. This has been pushed up. The application materials submitted and posted on the town website include a copy of the Army Corps of Engineers approval from 2020, as well as the State of Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection approval dated September 11th, 2020. You have in your packets and on the website prior packets a number of letters from neighbors nearby. Attorney Mike Murray is here with his experts to explain the proposal for a in the coastal and flood areas. Murray, I saw you on here somewhere. There you are.
We also got another site plan today via email.
Yes, Mr. Murray is going to be presenting a short 2 slides, represent what was approved by the state. Sheets 5 of 6 and 6 of 6.
Got it.
So I think he's submitted that and he'll be showing that shortly.
Fantastic. Mike Murray, I think you hear, there he is. Mike Murray, the floor is yours, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael Murray. I'm a local attorney representing Deborah and Sanford Rich in their dock application before you tonight. With me also is our expert, David Provencher from Coastal, and he's going to help us out with how the dock will be constructed and with those type of questions. So we're here because of the proximity to the water. It's a Comm application. The issue before us is really the landward access steps. And as Mr. Ginsburg said, it's a relatively straightforward application. Mr. Provencher will put the drawings up in a minute, but after living at the property for north of 15 years, Mr. and Mrs. Rich have decided to put in a dock. The dock has been approved by DEEP as well as the Army Corps of Engineers. So this is the last piece of the puzzle, so to speak, where we need the town to approve just that portion of the dock that's on the land side. And David, if I could impose upon you to put up the 2 latest drawings for everybody to see, I think it might be helpful, as well as those pictures as well. I'm not so sure in this environment if who's been able to go out and look at the site, but we have a couple of pictures that I think will help you quite a bit in visualizing the situation over there. Fred,
Can I interrupt 1 second, Mike?
Sure.
One thing on the public notice, Jeremy,
Mhm.
it says install a new unit in the same location. Is that a typo?
That's a typo.
Okay.
There's no dock there now.
All right, so it's instead of saying a replacement dock in the same location, it's just a new dock. There's never ever been one.
Correct.
Okay.
I think
And the second question is, again, we're just approving like the 5 feet or 3 feet that's on the land, right? That's our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And everything else.
Yeah,
Thank you. Sorry, Mike.
No, I think, Steve, the jurisdiction is really, there's 36 square feet of structure on the land side. So I think that's what's before you today or tonight.
Right, which is 4 by 4 or something like that. 4 by
Correct,
3 by 4
correct.
by 6. Yep.
And I think these pictures and drawings will help quite a bit with what we're doing. Dave, can we move on to the next one? This is the lot from an aerial view, as you can probably see.
Yep.
Mike,
And
do you
this
want
is sure. Yeah, I think that might be helpful, Dave.
sure, I can take over. So name is David Provencher. I'm with Coastline Consulting and Development, waterfront consultant out of Brantford. And we've been working with the Rich family from the very beginning. I think Mike explained it pretty well, sort of why we're here. I'll try to walk us through sort of how did the project get here. So you're all familiar with where the site is here on the north shore of Hawley Pond. The view we're looking at now is standing in the backyard, looking over a stone masonry seawall into the cove, and there's this tall grass right in front of the bulkhead there. That's tidal wetland grass that's protected by the state. So we're looking west. So this shot is looking north up the seawall. You see the tall grass to your left. And then this view is essentially looking south. The stone masonry bulkhead is to our left, and sort of right in the photo here along the grass edge is sort of where the through this stretch is where the dock would go.
Is the woman in
So-
that picture? Is the woman in the picture, David? Is that the property owner? So she's standing on her property. If you go
The
back
prior one?
Yeah, just go back one. Just as a reference point. The woman standing there, so that's the lady, that's the property owner on her property.
Yeah, so so all the bushes beyond the woman are, I believe, along the property line or just inside the property line, correct?
Thanks.
You're welcome. So it was back in 2019 when the Rich family contacted us, and they were interested in doing 2 projects. One was to make some minor repairs to the bulkhead, and the second was a dock project. So what we did was we started with a comprehensive waterside survey to really essentially almost map out this entire section of the cove, because we knew that we were sort of tight quarters and we really needed to sort of detail all the existing features. So we started with that, and that laid the base work for the 2 projects. So we knew that the bulkhead permits were rather straightforward. So we handled those first, secured permits from the state and the federal agencies for her to begin those repairs. So we took care of that out of the gate. And then we started working on the dock application. And we filed that with the state Connecticut DEEP and the New England Army Corps of Engineers. At that point, DEP, once they started to review the application, I worked very closely with the staff up in Hartford to sort of fine tune the design. They, as we recognized sort of the unique character of this little narrow cove. And so we tweaked dimensions and sizes and location on the waterfront there until they felt quite satisfied that they had minimized it to the greatest extent possible, while also showing concern for the area's environmental resources, for navigation in the area, and for just overall encroachment into public waters that are held in trust by the state. So we went back and forth for several weeks, just sort of working closely together to get everything right. And then eventually they were satisfied with the overall project and issued a permit that's from the state level, and then the Army Corps issued their federal permit. So now I'll just get down to sort of brass tacks and sort of, what are we looking at now for this application? So here's an elevation view of the entire dock, and just to really keep our focus on sort of what the application is focused on, we've sort of grayed out everything below the mean high water, which is really the dividing line between the state and federal jurisdiction on the left side here, and then town jurisdiction on the right. So just to be clear, the state and federal agencies have authorized the entire structure, but because there's overlapping jurisdiction, the Rich family had to come before the town for the upland portion. So the upland portion consists of essentially 36 square feet of dock structure, which is, if you can picture a ping pong table is about 40 square feet. So this is smaller than a ping pong table. The height is just over 6 feet, so not much more than, say, a stockade fence would be. And it's all open pile, open riser construction to allow the free flow of water through it in the event that the backyard is flooded. The construction is all wood, and there are no changes to grade. There's no solid fill, and there are no proposed lights at all. So that's really it in a nutshell. I'd certainly be happy to take any questions if there are any.
So just to make sure we're on the same page, the space is 4 feet wide by 9 feet long, right?
Correct.
It sits on 2 piles. Yeah, I mean, we see a ton of these, and we kind of understand our jurisdiction. So I understand. Now, there was, I guess, discussion. Was the dock moved south and north and south, back and forth before you settled on the location? Does that matter much to you?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, so I'll just flip back to the site plan. So it was moved, I think it was maybe 3 to 5 feet to the south.
Okay.
It was just a minor change. And the reason for that was, if you look where I have just sort of a presumed boat there, they wanted to maximize that space. So I think it was 39 feet at one point, and they wanted about 4 more feet. So that's what they were able to achieve by just shifting the dock to the south a few feet.
When you say they, you mean the property owner?
No, the DEP.
Or the DEP wanted more footage, so that's why they shifted it. Okay.
Yes.
How big's that sample boat in Holly Pond?
That's a 20-foot boat there.
Okay. Okay. I kind of get it. Any commissioners want to ask questions at this point? I see Kara, I see Jim, I see Jen, I see George Riley. Your light is on, George.
Yeah, no, nothing. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Warbles, okay. I think we're good. We got it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are we missing anything? Oh, about general public,
Open
right?
to the public.
Okay. Would anybody from the general public like to speak to this application, please? If you can go into the chat box, or you can just raise your hand. You'll be recognized, and Fred Donite will turn your microphone on. There's someone called JH with his microphone on, and someone else CO with their microphone on. We have letters in the file from Mrs. Margot Long and a couple other people. So, okay.
Hi, this is Jim Hansen, if you can hear me.
Yep. There he is, Jim Hansen. Welcome. If you would like to speak to this application, that's fine. Just give us your name and address if you don't mind, for the record.
Jim, can you hear us okay?
We sure can.
Okay, great. Yeah, Jim and Christy Hansen at 24 Lighthouse Way. We're the property across the cove. And I just had a couple questions. I noticed there was mention that the size was tweaked, you know, kind of to and fro. But my understanding was that the size of the landing, the dock itself, the gangplank, and the actual dock were pretty much at the maximum of the deep regulations. Is that not right?
No, I think what David, I can speak for you, and David, if I'm wrong, please change. I think what Dave said, the ramp was moved, the dock was moved, I think 5 feet either north or south for what was initially done at the DEP's request. The length of the dock, I don't remember what they said, but that's not our jurisdiction. Is that right, Dave?
That's all. Yep, that's all correct.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like it's probably also not part of the jurisdiction of this committee, but maybe I know that several of the homeowners who had sent letters had noted, and we noted as well, because this is Holly Pond and because the tide isn't the full tide that you would get on the regular Long Island Sound, that pilings of this high are really unheard of in Holly Pond. If you look at any other dock, there's, you know, virtually no pilings, and if there are, they're much shorter. One of the things that we were hoping, and I think some of the other homeowners were hoping, that those pilings could be materially shortened as part of this process.
Is that lower? So it's not as tall? So I mean lowered, it's not as tall as high tide?
Yeah, I think they're 12 feet tall.
Yeah, and when we spoke to the folks at Connecticut DEP, they said that that's absolutely fine to do. It doesn't need to come back before them, and it doesn't need to go through the Army Corps of Engineers.
Okay. The only thing I know is that it has to get up and over the seagrass. Do you want to answer that question, Mike? That's not our bailiwick.
Well, I think they're that, David, feel free to interrupt me, but I think they're that height in the event the tide gets high to prevent the dock from washing away in a storm.
That's correct. And yeah, I mean, those are the two restraint piles out here holding the float there. And, you know, the top elevation, a lot of times when it's constructed, you know, the contractor may make a field decision exactly where we try to set the top. That's sort of a standard for floating docks. So, but you know, this area is strictly in state and federal jurisdiction.
Is that an 8-foot tide like most of the Long Island Sound?
No, it's like a 2-foot tide, 2 or 3.
At the max.
Yeah, that's outside of our purview.
Well, I mean, I guess we would go on record as saying that we're opposed. Every other dock on Holly Pond is, you know, a small fraction of the size of this dock. It's to have the largest dock on Holly Pond be in this tiny little cove seems really silly. You know, I guess that it's not part of your jurisdiction, but I guess maybe just go on record as we're opposed to it.
Especially because you're going to get another application for another dock at the very tip of that cove. So that's going to be jumping out directly towards this dock, further limiting the navigation channel. And with another set of giant piers, it's going to, you know, have the feel of somewhat of a marina in a very tight space. So I think that's kind of a safety issue.
And I assume everybody on the committee knows that the very tip of that cove is an easement for all the neighbors of Lighthouse Way to access the Long Island Sound.
Yep, I see it. I see one of the drawings. Great, the Lighthouse Way, people get to walk around. I guess that's a house that's your house? It goes through your yard?
It goes through our neighbor's property, the neighbor between us, the Dahlquist.
I got you. And your dock is further south, closer to the main part of the pond. You're not high, so.
Right.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Hanson?
I guess not, no.
Okay, would anybody else like to speak to this application? I think someone else said something.
Steve, I don't see anyone else.
Okay. All right, with that said, anything else to add, Mike?
No, I thank you all for your time.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to close. Kara motioned it, looking for a second. George Riley, let's get this, George Riley or Larry Warble, second. All those in favor?
Okay, 6-0, the hearing's closed. Commission will decide at a future meeting.
Did you hear that, Mike?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, all right, great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's goes on to the next meeting. Okay, next up, subdivision application number 628, estate of Charles E. Bradley Jr., 31 Indian Springs Trail, proposal to divide the subject 5.17 acre plus or minus acre property into two separate lots respectively, 3.11 plus or minus acres and 2.06 plus or minus acres in size. The existing residence and associated improvements are to remain on the easterly 3.11 acre lot. Though the conceptual improvements are shown, development of the newly created building lot is not proposed at this time. The subject property is located on the northeast terminus of Indian Spring Trail, approximately 0.31 miles east of its intersection with Hollow Tree Ridge Road, and is shown on Assessor's map number 2 as lot number 36 in the R2 zone. Chairman, what do we got?
This is an application for a 2-lot subdivision. The commission doesn't see too many subdivision requests.
We saw one on Hollow Tree Ridge Road last year, right?
Yeah, I see about 1 or
Donahue's?
2 a year. Yeah. In this case, the property is served, Indian Spring Trail is the northern part of town. So the property is served by private wells and on-site septic systems. You have in your packets comments from DPW Assistant Director Darren Ostapine, talking a little bit about his review of the proposal. Mark Lebo of William Seymour and Associates is here to discuss this lot, how it was created, how it was merged and basically recombined many times. And it's in the R2 zone, so you need 2 acres minimum lot size. And he can explain a little bit about the history and what this proposal is all about.
So there's no free cut here.
There's no pre-cut.
Got it. Mark Lebo, I saw you a minute ago.
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, everybody. Mark Lebo with William Seymour and Associates. I am representing the owner and applicant, the estate of Charles Bradley Jr. Doug DeVesta is our civil engineer and here with us tonight, as well as John Ryan is also here in our office representing the owner's interest if locally, if he needs to pipe in and if you have any questions that I can't answer. I'm looking at, I thought I was made the presenter here. I'm trying to figure out.
Mark, we see your go-to-meeting screen.
Yes. I don't know why that, yeah, why is that?
Close it out. There we go.
All right. Session is already running.
And just open the PDF on your computer screen. That should get the job done.
Understood. Okay. So I'm going to start by showing you the Doug's site plan, because I think that will give you the best overview of what's being proposed here. And then we can talk a little bit about the history of how the what the condition of the property, the configuration of the property is now, how it got that way. As you can see here, the existing house is in this portion of the lot here, and the proposed conceptual development is on the 2-acre recreated lot over on the western portion of the property here. Again, as Jeremy mentioned, this is a conceptual site plan. It is the intent of the owners to hopefully have this division of the lot approved and put on the market. The owners have no intent of developing the vacant lot. And so this is just simply for the purpose of maximizing the value for the estate. I think what I'd like to show you now is these 2 lots were originally created by Subdivision in 1966, and those are depicted as lots 5 and lot 6 on map 3406 of the Darien land records. Let me just rotate this view for you. And so I'm gonna rotate it so that it's in the same orientation as the site plan. So lot 5 is primarily where the existing house is at right now, and lot 6 is where the new lot would be developed. Over the years, the lots had been reconfigured. This access way to lot 6 was combined with lot 1. There was property added to both lot 5 and lot 6, as is evidenced by, let's get the next map up here.
What's interesting here. Neighbors that we're hearing tonight.
I don't know. This is not wanting to cooperate here. Just stand by for a second. Back to the site plan. Here are the, okay, here we go. Okay, in 3447, in approximately June of 1967, parcel 3A2 was conveyed to the owner of lot 5. So that conveyance added this parcel 3A2 to lot 5. And that's pretty much how, with the exception of a couple of other little lot line revisions here and there, that's primarily how we got to the configuration we have today as shown on the site plan. So again, we're really just looking to have lots that previously existed on the land records, and I think the best way to show that, the way, sorry about the confusion here, because it is a little bit complicated. I think I tried to explain it in the narrative, and
We got it. It's
okay.
So lot
Here,
4 has never been lot 4 has never been part of anything.
I'm sorry, lot 4.
Never been part of anything. It's a cutout piece.
I'm not, when you say lot 4, Steve, which?
It's lot 4 shows up on your survey. That's the Morgan's house now.
Yes,
That's
correct. That's a 4, 3, 2, and 1 were all standalone and have been standalone lots since they were originally created in 66.
Got it.
Right, so the map that best represents what we're looking to recreate is this map here, map 3462.
Got it.
Minus this access way, which has since been combined with lot 1 here.
Right. And then,
so just, I think going back to the,
this is joint piece.
am I clear on that? Is everybody clear on how we got to the way the lot is today and how we're recreating 2 lots that had existed from 1966 through 1977, where we presume that the 2 lots were combined probably for tax purposes. But again, as I mentioned earlier, now we need to divide them again to maximize the value for the estate. At which point,
We got it, but my only one question, it doesn't matter a whole lot. In terms of the acreage, you see the one piece that's on the bottom, that's 148 feet by 161 feet, which is the site on Doug's map.
I'm sorry, say that again, Steve, I didn't hear you.
It's a driveway easement it's on the bottom of parcel B.
Oh, yes.
Left of parcel A. Just tell us about that. Who does that go? Whose acreage is that?
Well, that's part of the existing house lot. And the easement, there's an easement shared between the existing house lot and the property at number 29. And of course, that easement runs with the land, and this would not change that. There's also in that easement agreement, there's a restriction that the shared driveway would serve only those 2 lots. And so we're creating a separate driveway for the new lot, because we can't serve more than 2 lots off that shared driveway.
Is the acreage of that parcel, is that part of this 5 point?
Yes, and it's part of the 3 acres, the 3+ acres for the existing house lot.
Okay, so it's got nothing to do with the 2.06 lot, which is the new lot.
That is correct.
Okay, so the new lot's 2 acres, which is as of right, which is perfect, and it has its own curb cut off of Indian Trail. And on this, you have this, on Doug's plan, you have the setback lines on here?
Yeah.
Superimposed, is that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I got it.
Yes, so the new lot can be developed in it. You know, it's created. It conforms with all the zoning requirements with respect to shape and area. The lot can be all the conceptual improvements that have been depicted on Doug's site plan meet all the setbacks, and so everything is compliant here.
Okay. Can we just have Doug tell us about the drainage and the setbacks and the grading and whatnot? There's some grading changes, then we're probably good to open up to everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Doug,
Sure.
you want to go
Sure.
ahead and speak?
Sure. Fred, can I be the presenter? Well, Fred's doing that. I'm Doug DeVesta, professional engineer representing the applicant. I'll get the screen and then I'll be able to show a colored rendering of the site.
Thank you. Some landfill going on there too, right?
A little bit, the drainage, the septic.
Doug will explain all that.
Okay. So does everyone see my screen now?
Yes, thanks, Doug.
Okay. Okay, so what we've got here is Mark described on here. We had the site checked for wetlands. Wetlands were found over on the existing house lot, which is shown in the lighter green with Stony Brook going through the site itself. In that site there, really the only thing we had to do on this one, it's got an existing septic system which is located down along the southern property line. We showed a reserve area, a code compliant reserve area for the existing 7-bedroom house. The pool, patios are all existing. That's staying as is. On the the westerly lot, the proposed lot, we did a series of test holes in the back portion of the property and the southern portion of the property here. We found suitable septic area for a 5-bedroom house along the westerly property line. And then what we did here is we put a potential house location. Obviously, this is not an actual house configuration. It's just a conceptual to show that this house of this size can be placed on the property with the driveway, pool area, patio. What we've done to the property here is we've created, if you've been to the property, this area right on the property line is pretty much an open lawn area. So what we did 2 things with it. We've created a berm, a tree berm here, and therefore utilizing that tree berm area as part of a detention system. So we've got the roof leaders, driveway drains, and a drain off of the patio draining into this area. And then below the surface, there will be a series of chambers that will collect and store the water quality volume. And anything above that will be used as detention to be metered out to a level spreader, which will be an easement through the property to the south, to the east, then sheet flow out towards the Stony Brook Road, to Stony Brook Brook itself. So the regrading would be done for drainage purposes and to create a berm and tree berm to block out and screen for the existing house. Other than that, really minor little grading along the westerly side of the house, and some regrading for the septic system will be required for the proposed septic system. We did check the site for the 2, 10, 25, and 50-year design storms, and we compliant with that. And we have a 0 increase in runoff from the development of this proposed lot itself. That's really it. Steve, anything else you want to discuss?
The other thing I wanted to discuss, I know it's a conceptual house, right, and where it's going to go, but do we lock in where these drainage ditches are going to go? Because the one that's to the, I want to say to the east or to the right on my screen,
Yeah,
that is the setback line, isn't it?
Yeah, the
setback line is right where my cursor is.
Oh, do we fix that in place on these things? And then the
No,
house?
in this case, the actual, when the lot gets, I'll take this up. When the lot gets developed,
Right.
the actual house design, the drainage, the septic, the well will all be fine tuned.
Okay,
The septic and well will be run by the Darien Health Department.
Right.
The final location and design of the drainage will be reviewed by the Darien Public Works Department to make sure that it's not going to cause impacts and it meets the stormwater management regulations.
but when they put a house out here, can they move these Caltech systems that he designed around and move the berm around?
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, got it. Okay, but with,
Yeah, this is just feasibility to demonstrate to your commission, Steve, that yes, we can put a house on here, a septic, well, and drainage on here. And we pretty much use it. This is the design. This is a house design that was used previously on other jobs that I've done in town. So it's pretty much a house that you would find the size of the house you would find in Darien.
Understood. Got it. And the only thing that connects it to is the level spreaders. I'm going to use, it might be the wrong word, but they leach out onto the other piece.
Correct.
Okay.
And again, it's a level spreader, so then water will sheet flow out versus being a concentrated flow, and would sheet flow down towards the wetlands and then ultimately get into the Stony Brook.
Okay, so they have to find something on the land records for the easement that's going from one lot to the other.
If that's the way they decide to proceed with the drainage. If this gets approved by the commission, they'll file the subdivision map in the land records.
Great.
Once that's filed, they can then send the lot to anybody.
Great.
They'll come to our office with a proposal for the house, the well, the septic, the drainage. We'll get it checked by Health and Public Works.
Great.
And we'll check make sure everything meets zoning. If they need the easement, great. If they can design it without easement, that's fine as well.
Okay, but do we need the permission of the estate, the owner of this lot, for that easement in advance?
No, I wouldn't say necessarily in advance, but certainly if the commission if the commission were to approve it, could put a condition in that the design shown would require an easement.
I would like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like that.
And I
Do you
think that's
understand what we're
the way-
talking about, Doug?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Do you think that's proper? I assume, right?
Yeah, I mean, because the lot's so flat and there's really no place else to put the water, it just makes the most sense to do what we're doing this way. I mean, there may be, if I do the job or another engineer does the job, they may find another solution for it. But, you know, this was one solution that I came up with for this property.
Okay, so Mark, you're okay with that if we put that as a condition in the approval?
Yeah, I think so, as long as it's worded correctly that and accurately that, you know, this isn't necessarily what's going to be built. So
Right,
as Jeremy noted, it may very well be possible to design something that wouldn't require an easement. This is just what Doug came up with as a conceptual design for the purpose of this application.
Got it. Okay, I'm good. Did I miss anything?
Nope.
No. Okay. Commissioners, any commissioners have questions about this application? Either turn your light on or raise your hand or chime in. Jim Rand
No.
saying no. I think Jennifer might have dropped off. Kara, you're okay?
No, Jennifer.
Oh, there's Jennifer. Kara's good. George Riley, you're okay?
Larry Warble has a question.
Okay, Larry, go ahead, sir. Sorry.
Just want to confirm, I'm looking over the map and I think this is true. This property is more than half a mile from the Talmadge Hill train station, right?
I would venture to say yes. I could quickly measure it if you need to know that.
Wait, what was the question? More than or less than half a mile? I'm sorry.
Well, I just want to make sure it's more than half a mile from the Talmadge Hill train station.
It might be closer. It might be half a mile.
I think I see someone who's knowledgeable of the area giving a thumbs up that it is more than half a mile from
it's more. Okay.
Yeah, so it's outside of the range of any state law changes that might be coming our way.
Oh, okay. All right. I was kind of wondering what your point was. And now I understand. Yes. Okay. Yes. Point taken. Thank you.
You put, if state law changes, you can put like, 5 houses on this thing.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later.
Great. Thanks, Larry. Gary, your light is on. You're okay?
Oh, no, I just want, I want Elijah to repeat his question for me. That was it.
Thank you. We're going to go to general public.
Correct.
Would anyone in the general public like to speak to this application? Yes, sir. Your hand is up. Please turn your microphone on. That looks like a guy I know. Turn your microphone on. You're ready to go. Is Mr. Riley? Okay. You're muted right now, Mr. Von Jenna. You need to, if you see the microphone that's in red, click on that microphone. There you go.
Can you hear me?
We sure can. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm the property owner, 2 lots north, still abutting what is the new development lot. Yes, where the hand is. Yep, where the hand is now, that's where my property is.
For the record, you're 6 Talmadge Hill Road.
I'm sorry?
For the record, you're 6 Talmadge Hill Road.
I am 6 Talmadge Hill Road, correct.
Thank you.
So I think the greatest concern for me, and I may speak for others, but the greatest concern I have for our property is, as this is a conceptual design of a potential development, that really means nothing. Because at the end of the day, if a developer comes in here and whacks down all the trees, my property will be adversely affected because I will lose my privacy, my peace and quiet to live how I'm currently living today, because this area, this lot, is completely wooded and is extraordinarily private for all my neighboring homes, including the abutting properties north and south or to the west. So my question is, or my concern is, and I may not be alone here, is in principle, I'm not objecting to a development of what is clearly an allowable 2+ acre lot in 2 acre zoning. My question or concerns are that what I'm seeing as a conceptual drawing in front of me, in front of all of us right now, looks great, except for it doesn't provide, as provided there's some language in this approval process that says, if you build to this, I will approve. Because if this is just conceptual and somebody else comes in and builds a 9,000 square foot house with twice the septic system galleys and cuts down all the trees, I'm gonna have a house and a pool that sit right in my front yard to my property. And that's a concern to me because I live in this area specifically to have peace, quiet, and a lifestyle that accommodates a 2 acre zoning provision. So my question to both P&Z and the developer is, what do we or I get as a guarantee that the development of this property will ensure sufficient screening, planting, and either retaining, maintaining the existing forest that is there that maintains the lifestyle and property value and privacy that I, for one, seek, and I think others would agree that we seek in this area and why we live here to begin with.
I'm going to give you a couple quick comments, and then I'm going to turn over to Jeremy, who's the planning zoning director. The only comments I have, the design that's put forth, if you look on one of the plans, and yeah, you can see it right in front of you, it depicts all the setback lines that are on the property. The rear setback line is 50 feet, which comes close to your side, right? That's the setback line that the house has to be at, or any improvement has to be at. So this subdivision complies with that. Some of the trees that are, if they ever did build in that area, would likely come down. The trees in the other place may not, but I want to let Jeremy speak to it beyond that.
Certainly, what I discussed earlier was the fact that once the lot is created, there are a number of hurdles they still have to get through. One is obviously the health department relative to the septic, making sure it's properly designed relative to the location of the well. The other is public works reviewing any drainage plan for whatever is put there, whether it's a 1-bedroom house of 3,000 square feet or a 10-bedroom house of 10,000 square feet.
Which also affects the septic system.
Which, again, it's all related to the septic system, the drainage system. And certainly as we drove down, Mr. Donite and I drove down Indian Spring Trail today, obviously 2 acre zoning, many lots are wooded, some more so than others. And that changes through time, not only on Indian Spring Trail, but other neighborhoods. The parameters we have in zoning regulations, as Mr. Alvani mentioned, are setbacks, which in this zone are 50-foot front, 50-foot rear, and 35-foot side, as well as the maximum of building coverage, which is 20%, which is much someone could build on this property. Very fortunate in that many of the builders we've seen through the years try to keep as many trees as possible to keep.
Jeremy, we're having trouble hearing you.
Jeremy, I think we're hearing you through Steve's mic. You want to turn your mic on and.
Sure, I'll shut mine off.
I don't know if I want to.
Can't hear you, Jeremy.
Yeah, sure.
There's a lot of feedback. We can't hear you, Jeremy. Jeremy, we can't hear you.
Maybe Steve's mic is better and
Fred, can
anyone
you
who's
turn
on the
off?
call should mute.
Yeah, you know, just to continue on what Jeremy was saying, that the any future proposed development on the lot would require review by the Darien Health Department. The engineer would look at it with respect to drainage concerns. The way this is set up, it's very likely that the house or potential redevelopment would need to come for the Planning and Zoning Commission for land filling and regrading. And, you know, have the opportunity, the commission would have the opportunity to take a second look at it and ensure that it complies with the zoning regulations. And you know, in the commission's decision, they're gonna take into account impacts on neighbors as well. So you know, from that perspective, does that answer the question?
Hey, Fred, quick, can you shut off Mr. Morgan's microphone? WMJN. I think it's suspicious that's the one that's making all the noise. There you go.
Right, there we go. I don't know how much that helped, but
It helps a lot.
the question in terms of future review of the property.
Okay, maybe I,
Go ahead, sir.
I guess again, just to try to hone in on it, you know, when someone proposes a might if as a development, that's great. But at the end of the day, if there's something much larger and it complies with this lot subdivision approval through P&Z, you know, right now we're approving this subdivision. What actually is built on there is something completely different. If the developer proposes to town building department a building structure, a new home, whatever, that complies with all the building, all the zoning requirements, would this committee still have jurisdiction to review?
Under certain circumstances, it would, yes. It's likely that a land filling and regrading permit would be required by the Planning and Zoning Commission for this. Right. If a property owner is changing the grade by more than 6 inches or close to a property line, that triggers review by the Planning and Zoning Commission. So yes, it is likely that this will come back before the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay, I live here. I know this lot. I know this area very, very well. It's very flat. I can't imagine if they get if the developer gets approval for building within this lot area with the setback requirements, I can't imagine them wanting to get back in front of this committee to have somebody object or kick it out. They'll just build within the guidelines that are within the dotted line. But that's just my opinion. I've been around long enough to see that happen. My only objections to this are based solely on maintaining the peace, quiet, and private residential area that we all currently enjoy without this development. I'm not opposed to the development. I just would like to see that the development through this body of planning and zoning put requirements that say there should be some reasonable reasonable provisions provided for the neighboring properties that would be most affected by this development. Because I've been around long enough to see developers come in and cut down nearly all the trees on a buildable lot and say, oh, don't worry, we'll replace them. Well, if you do that here, it substantially adversely impacts both on a value side and a land usage side, a lifestyle side. It adversely impacts at least 3 or 4 neighbors. And I don't think that's fair. I think it's reasonable for us, or I'm speaking for myself, but it's reasonable to say, I don't have a problem with you developing on this 2+ acre lot. You're entitled to do that per zoning. I get it. It's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But can we put some reasonable provisions with that approval that says, hey, you got to be a reasonable neighbor to the associated properties? Because if somebody comes in and cuts down this forest, which is currently completely forested lot, cuts all the trees down, there's going to be a beeline shot from all the neighboring properties to a 30-foot, 5,000+ square foot structure. And developers don't plant 12-foot trees, they plant 5- and 6-foot trees. So I'm just trying to be a proactive, reasonable neighbor and say, okay, go build what you want to build, but can we put in place some provisions that will ensure the lifestyle, privacy, peace that we all enjoy today and is the reason why we live where we live today? That's all I'm saying.
Mr. Chairman?
How do we get there?
Mr. Chairman? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hold on, sir. Carrie, you want to try to answer that?
Well, I guess sort of my question sort of in response, or my question either to Jeremy or Fred, just as part of what the neighbors is bringing up, what's making me think about is, what would stop the estate that currently owns the property now from clearing the trees?
Nothing.
Right. This is Jeremy Ginsburg.
That would be imposing a restriction on the property that no other homeowner in the area or nor the current homeowner has. So they would be treated in a different way, right, than everyone else, because everyone else right now can cut down the trees on their own properties.
Right, Jeremy Ginsburg.
I'm just wondering, right, they could cut them all down right now if they wanted to. I'm asking, could they?
Yeah, this is Jeremy Ginsburg, Planning and Zoning Director.
I would hope they wouldn't.
I agree with you, Kara, in that certainly the regulations do have limits and restrictions. The only restrictions on tree cutting currently in Darien is any tree cutting near an inland wetlands or within 100 feet of the Stony Brook.
Right.
So certainly all the homeowners, not only in this neighborhood, but every neighborhood in Darien, and this is not a coastal area, would have the same limits and restrictions. As I mentioned earlier, what we have found generally in most builders and developers want to maximize their profits. And many ways to do that is to build a structure that kind of fits in with everything else, is the size, the nature, the landscaping. As I said, we're very fortunate. Many builders, developers add landscaping. Usually what they have to do, and what's likely to happen in this case, is you're gonna have to take some trees down for the septic system, the drainage system, the house, probably the pool, and to create a lawn area for just general driveway and other things, just like every other lot in this neighborhood has. Whether they decide to take the trees down all the way to the north near Mr. Von Jenna or leave those, it would be a little unusual to go out of your way to cut trees all the way at that end of the property. But it's possible.
I mean, I am, though, by the way, I'm sympathetic to this issue because I live in a similar area and there are a lot of trees and things being, completely there's a house on Hollow Tree where, you know, it's going to be demoed. And I mean, they just came in a day, and it was crazy how fast they took down every tree on the property. So I am actually very sympathetic to this, and I get the issue that he's raising. I'm just trying to grapple with within our jurisdiction and within the regulations that we have at, you know, within our jurisdiction, how we can add such a provision or condition, or is that something that we step away from and that the neighbors and work out through a private contractual type of thing? Because, right, I don't see where we have the regs to, other than the two tree related regulation that you cited, the Stony Brook and within a certain, within wetlands. Do we even have the authority to add such a condition if we don't treat others similarly situated in that same manner? I'm very sympathetic to the issue, and it breaks my heart. I really get upset when I see all the trees getting cut down. So I'm not saying I want the trees cut down. I'm just thinking through the issue.
In that vein, with or without the subdivision, I could buy the house and cut down the trees and put in a nice.
The current owner can do it.
Correct. Exactly. The current owner can.
Yeah.
With
So
or
I'm
without.
sorry.
I just would like to point out one other thing, which is
Sure.
I think is somewhat overlooked by even the drawing we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Due to the slope and the location of Stony Brook and Mansfield Road, all of the houses that run along the Mansfield Road are essentially on the west side of what is a pretty substantial gully down. Right. Probably 25 feet down to this little stream, which never gets bigger than 3 feet or 5 feet wide. It's really a joke. But anyway, so all of our properties, even though we have 2+ acres, all of our lots, 2+ acres, our houses are built on the most westerly third of the lot, because you can't build on a 25-foot slope. Well, you can, but you can't build a reasonable normal house there, and you can't have usable space there. So most of the properties that abut, mine, Mr. Bill Morgan's property, the other property on the other side of the Bradley property, we all contend with this slope down to Mansfield, we call it, to Stony Brook and Mansfield. So our houses are all built way up close to the property lines, to the west side. So if somebody comes in, and if there's not some mechanism, not to be unreasonable, just to be reasonable, if there's not some mechanism here in P and Z, I'm not sure where it would fall, frankly, maybe you could guide me there, but where it would fall that would say, look, if you come in and mow down all these trees because you're a narrower lot and you're going to stuff a house in that lot, and just to be clear, the current house location is preliminary and just, in thinking, it could easily be 50, 60, 70 feet further into the lot, if that's what a builder chooses, which would be closer to Mr. Morgan's property as well as my property. And if they cut down all the trees to create lawn space, there is an adverse impact on value and lifestyle in our properties, and I don't think that's fair. I'm not trying to be unreasonable neighbor. I'm trying to be a reasonable neighbor that says, what provisions can we take, either in P and Z or some other enforcement? What reasonable provisions can be made that ensure in a reasonable way that the lifestyle of privacy, peace and quiet living that we all purchased years ago to purchase this lifestyle, what provisions can be made that give us that reasonable certainty? I propose the question. Please let me know what we can do.
Can I jump in for a quick moment here? Mark Lebo speaking again. Mr. Von Jenna, to your point, a couple of things. you know, the purpose of zoning setbacks, for one, is to achieve exactly what it is you're talking about, to have space between homes, to provide separation, to provide, you know, ultimately peace and quiet and things between neighbors. The other thing I would offer, and I see Jeremy has stepped away for a moment, so to your point about something being able to be built 50, 60, or 70 feet further back on the lot, I kind of need Jeremy, perhaps you can confirm for me. We do have a lot width requirement, and in using Doug's plan here, I'm not sure if you can see. Oh, Doug's presenting. I would say that well, at some point the lot becomes less than 200 feet wide as you proceed north towards your property. And at that point that, and Jeremy, please confirm, at that point that the lot becomes less than 200 feet in width, no principal structure could be erected on that portion of the lot. So as far as something being built 50, 60, or 70 feet further back on this lot, if I am correct in my assumption here, and I believe I am, that could not happen.
Can you hear Jeremy? Go ahead.
Jeremy Ginsburg, for the record, Mark Lebo is correct that on Mr. DeVesta's plan, there is a line which shows the 200-foot width area, and that is where basically the hand is on the screen now. Anything further beyond that, you could not put a single-family house, principal use. So certainly, Mr. Von Jenny, you get the benefit of not only the, right, it's on a different map. So
it's on this one too, right?
Right, you get the benefit of 50 feet setback on your property, plus another 50 on the adjacent property, plus additional area where, because of the narrowness of this lot, single-family residence could not be built.
Yeah, again, I'm not trying to be unreasonable, but there is no provision in P and Z that says I can't cut down all the trees within my setback requirements. Is that correct?
That's
correct. That's correct.
So all the neighbors around us, and I would encourage them to speak up at this moment, we all have done a very good job to maintain a forest and tree line area between our properties to ensure our privacy. So, and the way of our life. So I'm just trying to find a happy medium here that says, because P&Z says, look, here you can't do anything within this setback requirement. I get that. That's all great. The 200-foot line, great, all good news. But it doesn't mean somebody couldn't build a 9,000 square foot house up to that 200-foot line and put a pool beyond that 200-foot line and tear down all the trees so they have a giant, nice 1.5 acres of lawn in the back of their property, thereby imposing that all the neighboring properties must now plant screening to make it go away. And I don't think that's
you want to impact
reasonable.
A private homeowner can do.
That's why I'm asking the question. If this is not the place to ask for that reasonable condition, then where is the place where you can ask for that reasonable position?
There's no provision in our zoning plan.
I have no idea.
Zoning commission to ask for that.
Mr. Chairman, can I be recognized, please?
I'm not sure I understand.
Hold on one second. Hold on, let me just finish. Yes, you can, sir, but Mr. Von
Yeah,
Jan,
William J. Morgan, and I'm here with my wife, Patricia, and we are the owners of 14 Talmadge Hill Road.
One second, sir. One second.
Yeah, everything suddenly changed on my screen.
Mr. Von Janet, did I answer your question? There's nothing in the zoning regulation that prevents people from cutting down trees unless those two items. When I bought my house, I cut 10 trees.
But also,
Okay,
there's
but
nothing.
we're having a meeting
Hold on,
here
hold
in
on,
order
Claire.
to approve or object or not to object this subdivision, correct?
I'm sorry, say it again?
We are at this meeting today to either as neighbors approve or object to this current development. Is that correct?
We the ones, the planning zoning commission ones that approves it. You can voice your opinion. You can voice your opinion as towards an objection, but it's
Right.
if it's as of right approvable subdivision, it's likely to be granted. We cannot regulate unless it's in a special area. What about the trees?
So that's very interesting to me. So
Like I said,
if I
whether
was
it's subdivided or not, if they don't subdivide it and the current owner today wants to cut down the trees, there's no provision in zoning allowance that says they can't come around.
This is not a
They can go out
homeowners association.
Yeah, they can go out there tomorrow and start cutting down trees.
okay, so
Ask you.
so without being litigious, what would be, and I totally understand that within your rights to cut down trees, I totally get that. I might ask for what the motivation is, but that's a different question. I'm sure my neighbors could all say, oh, I'm going to cut down all my trees, but none of them have because they want a lifestyle. We have paid for a lifestyle. We live here because we want to live the lifestyle. And this development, if there's not some provision that grants or requires a reasonable provision of trees and privacy, what's the term? I'm not thinking of the right term. Screening, some reasonable, appropriate screening that fits the area. If that's not in place, then there is an adverse impact to the neighbors. There is. All of our properties would be adverse impact if a guy comes in and cuts all the trees down to make a giant lawn because he wants to put a chipping range in his backyard. I understand that he may have the right to do so, but I'm looking for some reasonable compromise with a developer to ensure that that won't be the case. And if that's not within this body, then I need to seek an alternative method to enforce that. And I'm looking for this body to help guide this neighbor as well as the 4 other neighbors that have direct impact to this development.
Okay.
Give me some guidance.
I can't give you guidance on that other than speaking offline during regular office hours to the planning zoning director, which is Jeremy Ginsburg. But you're 100% correct. The existing owner today could cut down those trees and put into par 3. And there's nothing you can do about that. You know, that's not the standard for a subdivision approved or not approved, is the reasonable screening of a neighbor. If they want to put in a putting green tomorrow on that area, they're allowed to. So you could talk to Jeremy offline at another time. Most people, when they do a nice house in our town, put in a planting plan and have a landscaping plan. And a lot of times, if it's close to the property lines, the neighbors get consulted. But the existing applicant now is not a developer. There's no developer here. They could do it today, subdivided or not, and that's not the standard. So that's the only guidance I can give you. I hope I answered your question. I'd like to have Mr. Morgan come up to the table next, but there's no other.
I'm virtual, but not to belabor the meeting. I think.
Sir, I think your name is Mr. Morgan. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, it's William J. Morgan, 14 Talmadge Hill Road, Darien, Connecticut.
Thank you, sir. Floor is yours.
Again, not to belabor the meeting and to prolong it, I think Stefan has expressed eloquently the various concerns that we have. The principal one being the preservation of privacy and, you know, the issue of what can be done. Again, the 6-foot trees in a berm versus a bigger berm and a 12-foot tree, or something to resolve the issue. The fact is, it is an issue. And I second strongly everything that Mr. Von Jenna has expressed tonight. And, you know, I will look forward to your conclusion.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Would anybody else like to speak to this application?
Hi, Kevin Murphy.
Sure, Mr. Murphy, just give us your address, please, sir. Oh, I
Sure.
see. 20 Indian Spring.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, I'm right on the, so my name's Kevin Murphy. My wife and I live on 20 Indian Spring Trail. We border the property where most of the work would be done. I had something I want to read into record, but I guess as we've talked a lot, it does surprise me a little bit that the developers are going to be creating this, you know, they've proposed this lot, and yet we've all said here at the meeting that, oh, well, we'll come back another day and vet this project. That seems like a big risk for the estate, because you know, proposed property, but perhaps there would be a lot of contention down the road. But I'd prefer just to read something into the record. We moved our own borders the property to the west. We love our neighborhood, and we've actually been blessed by having a couple of renters who've come in during the pandemic who've really enriched the neighborhood. We look forward, if this, we do not, you know, this may be their, the Bradley Estates right to develop this property, and we welcome future neighbors. There are some things that we would like for you all to consider, but we welcome new neighbors, and that sort of adds to the character of our neighborhood. And so speaking of that, I think this development of the property changes the character of that neighborhood, changes the character of that street. We moved to Indian Spring Trail because of the open space and our insulation from traffic, noise, and the lights of Mansfield Avenue. And by clearing all these trees and developing a new home and the space that's required in developing a new home, I think we'd be able to see and hear straight through to Talmadge, straight through to Mansfield Ave. Currently, the trees on both our wetlands and on 31 Indian Spring offer a good deal of privacy from our neighbors at 31. And again, those neighbors at Mansfield and Talmadge. And so when I evaluate this application and the landscaping design, I would also propose, you know, evergreen trees. I see some deciduous trees on there. Maybe I'm wrong, but some evergreen trees that are 15 feet high to provide the, to really keep in place the kind of privacy we already have between our property and theirs, as well as Talmadge and Mansfield. Also, currently, the boundary between our property is quite porous. We can sort of walk right through our yard to their yard. The wall is all broken down. So it would be great if this application, or if there's something that the P&Z can consider, but to have that barrier, that stone wall rebuilt. And again, given the number of young children who are on Indian Spring Trail, which really is a one lane road, we are a little bit worried about what new home construction would look like in such an area. So again, we don't necessarily oppose it, but we do ask the Planning and Zoning Committee to consider our points.
Sure. One answer to one question is, I mean, I'm looking at Mark Levo's survey. That part of that rock wall, it definitely hugs the property line, defines the property line. There's a section in the middle it looks on the survey to be 100% on your side. So I bet you, Nicola, you're welcome to fix that wall if you want to yourself.
Yeah, thanks for that. We'll take a look at that when when someone decides to build a house there. Thank you.
Right. But it's, you know, I hear exactly what you say, but we have to look at the zoning code and what's in there, and the parameters that go to regulate this application.
Thanks for your consideration.
And then this woman.
Okay, is there anyone else that speak to this? I'm told Maggie, is it Cassie Mersker?
Yeah, I keep raising my hand. How are you? Thanks for having us
You're welcome.
tonight.
Give us your
Thank
name
you.
and just your name and
Yeah.
address, Cassie, for the record. Thank you.
I'm going to. I'm just trying to. Seems to be exiting here. My name is Kate.
You're on mute. Can you hear her? I can't hear her. No. We just lost you, Casey, or Cassie.
I think it just froze.
Oh. How do we reboot her?
She'll have to
Call in on the phone line so that we
wait
can
for
hear
it to
her.
catch up or log off and log back on. But you're right, she's frozen up.
Who's in the chat?
Nobody.
There's a one in there on my screen.
But can she just dial in?
Cassie, if you can hear us, you could dial in from your telephone and on the agenda that's there, or else I would either mute yourself, unmute yourself, take off your picture and turn back on your picture.
Or, yeah, turn the camera button on, turn it off, maybe that
Yeah,
would fix it.
turn your camera off, Cassie, and then turn it back on again. Oh, she did. She turned it off.
Okay, let's see if that works.
It's got to do with bandwidth, is my understanding at your house. Okay.
Are there others that would like to speak?
Just for the record, I want to say that I hope we get back to normal soon.
All right, can I just ask? I just want to, like,
Kathy, just shut up again, Stefan. Hold on one second.
sorry to be, you know what? Everyone can get to their evening cocktails. But,
Really bad feedback.
man, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Maybe that's better.
Fred, you got to mute.
200-foot line. I have no idea why we're echoing like crazy. Let me try this. Is that better? Okay. My question would be, could I build directly to the 200-foot line and then put a pool or some other tennis court, whatever? Could I put it past the 200-foot mark? Is that better?
Hi, I'm sorry. Just so everyone knows, I think I got cut off at some point.
Yes, Cassie, I would start from the beginning.
I'll try to make it quick. Anyway, so I'm Cassie McSary, 29 Indian Spring Trail. I know some of you from RTM. I'm on District 1. So I moved here with my family primarily because it reminded me the most of Weston, and it's the part of town that I love because it's wooded. And it sounds like we have no ability to comment or adjust any of the landscape plans, but I just wanted to vocalize that my entire view of my property is of this lot. So I will definitely be looking at no woods anymore and only looking at a 5,000 plus square house. So although I totally understand it's within their right, it will dramatically affect how I feel about the house and my placement in the street. So I'm not really happy about that at all. And I'm not sure that there's really any way that they can screen for me given the placement of my house and where this house is going to have to be on the lot. So that's one thing I just wanted to vocalize. Not really sure there's anything you guys can say or comment on. The one thing I did have as a question was the shared driveway. So that shared driveway, which I think was originally in that section map where they mentioned 3A2, it's in total disrepair. And as far as I know, unlike Mr. Murphy's stone wall that you were talking about, I think it's their sort of property to maintain. And I have been trying to patch it myself for the last 6 years. Also, all of the land closer to my property, it's hard to explain without looking at a map, but there is property and landscape and gardening there that I've been maintaining for 6 years, that they have landscapers every week, but no one's come and done anything on that property for 6 years. So I don't know if now would be a time to consider evaluating sort of the ownership in the line and that easement or not. But I've been sort of maintaining their land close to me for 6 years.
Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions. I just want to, you can take it, but the easement that we're talking about goes into the existing house today.
Yeah.
You're 50 feet. You're south. I thought it was this one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so all of their shrubs, when I pull down the driveway on the left, are technically all theirs, but I'm the one who maintains them. I mulch it. All my landscapers have done that for 6 years. I've never asked for anything. I also patch the driveway. I've never asked for anything. You know, maybe this is the time to sort of reconsider that line and that easement a little bit. So just putting that out there. And then I just wanted to vocalize, like I said, you know, love the street.
What's exactly being asked for us to consider, though?
Well, and here's the thing. I've only gotten this notification, Kara. I got this 2 days ago. I have been cross country in California, so maybe there's nothing to be done, and I haven't spent any time looking into it.
I'm just going to ask for clarification on what exactly you like.
Well, I don't know if it's looking at the lines and dividing it a little bit differently right there, or, you know, what sort of it is. It just seems, it seems a little bit of an eyesore right now. And I also it's a little bit odd for me to have land that I'm maintaining that they own.
Cassie, I think what we talked about earlier today was going to the land records and finding the details of that easement in terms of there's books in the land records and those are referenced on.
No, you and I didn't discuss this. I didn't bring this up with you. I heard during this call someone say that easement runs in perpetuity with the land. So I wasn't as worried about that. I'm just talking about maintaining the land and the easement. Since we're talking about potentially redrawing the lines of these two lots, I'm bringing it up. And have I done my research? No, because I just got this notice in my mail on Friday when I got home from California from the last 3 months. So.
Okay, we can listen to Jeremy now on what the answer is to the easement. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Certainly, sometimes in the easement, it describes who's responsible for maintenance, whether it's a shared thing or one property owner is responsible for the driveway and the land around it. And I don't know the details of this specific easement. Certainly, you are welcome to reach out to Mr. Ryan, who represents the estate. And if you want to modify that easement area or modify the paperwork in the land records, both parties can negotiate that on future responsibilities of that driveway easement going forward. That that can be done without the commission's involvement because it's really a private agreement between you and what's now the estate of
Mr. Bradley.
Bradley. I misspoke.
Would that also pertain to the land on either side of the driveway?
Yes, because the easement area includes not only the driveway, the asphalt area, but
Yeah.
includes the area a little to the north and to the south.
Correct.
And that land is not part of, I'll call it the newly created lot. So you are able to work out whatever you want with the estate of Mr. Bradley and come to a differing agreement on future maintenance costs.
Right, but given that he's probably going to be selling the property, I'm just bringing out a point that it is a little bit unusual to have another property owner maintaining land that they don't own.
Yeah, well, it depends on what the easement agreement says.
Yeah, I don't know what the easement.
I don't think it has anything in it. I'm pretty sure there's nothing in it about it, but they're not maintaining it, and it technically looks like it's my property, so I'm gonna make it look as nice as I can. But okay.
It's to your house, right? It's driveway to your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and then to the right of the driveway is technically the Bradley's land, but I maintain it all, the mulched area.
Yep, got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anybody else would like to speak to this application? We got Mr. Murphy, who's an adjoining person. We got Mr. Morgan as an adjoining person. We got Mr. Von Jenna as an adjoining person. We got Cassie Bursky as an adjoining person. We don't have St. Paul's Church. Okay. Any commissioners have any last closing questions? Anything in the chat box, Fred?
No.
Okay. With the, do you have anything else to add before we motion to close the application or request to close the application? Mark Lebo, applicant?
Yeah, I think it's important to point out that even with this conceptual plan, that the grading for the landscape berm and the biodetention system and things, and possibly even the grading around the septic system, that in and of itself, or anything similar to it, is going to trigger a land filling and grading permit, because so the commission will get another bite at the apple with a real plan.
Right.
That's a
No.
yes. That's a
Jeremy's
yes.
shaking his head.
That's a yes and no.
It really depends. I spoke to Doug DeVesta and we discussed that there are many permutations here. And
Sure.
it's true that many new houses do come to the commission. Some do not. So there's no way to know. I don't want to give anyone false hope that this is likely to come back. There's no way to know. It really depends on the final design, how an engineer draws it up, and
None of
we'll
those
see.
houses near Lives River parents came back. There was a 5-lot subdivision, remember? In Tokenie.
If I can just ask one last question.
Hmm.
I don't know if public comment's still available.
Sure, go ahead, sir.
All right, thanks. So I'm a little curious about.
Can you just
What
state your
led-
record? Just so we.
Sorry, Kevin Murphy, 20 Indian Spring Trail. What led the property to be combined back in the 60s, where it's split and then it's combined again? I find it very unusual that it just seems like a gigantic risk for someone to have heard all of this, all this, people against this plan, and then we're just simply saying, oh, they'll have another bite at the apple. Gee, what a risk that might be. But can someone speak to the how the property was split and then combined? Someone mentioned something about tax reasons, but I would imagine that you all would know the actual reason.
Well, hi, Mark Lebo speaking again. No, we actually don't know the actual reason. It's a presumption that it's for tax purposes. The person who combined the lots is passed away. We have no real way of knowing what his thoughts were. Having been involved in land use and development for 42 years now, I feel pretty confident saying that the only reason why somebody would combine two building lots after they existed on the land records for some 11 or 12 years would be to reduce their tax liability. And I can't think of any other reason.
We're
And
at a meeting right now, right, with a
let me
public
finish, please.
now where is there not, it wasn't the same kind of.
Okay, sir, can you let Mike finish?
Yeah, sure.
In so much that as far as the way subdivisions approval work, in theory, that as long as we can demonstrate that the lot meets the zoning requirements, there isn't a tremendous amount of risk, because it's the planning, not just the Darien Planning and Zoning Commission, but any planning and zoning commission in the state of Connecticut is bound to approve as long as the lot meets the zoning requirements.
No, I was just curious. I mean, it seems like we all know what happened in 67. No one knows why it happened. And that's sort of the reason why we're here. That seems a little.
It was split. It was the lots were created in 66 and then combined in 77.
And we don't have to know why that was done.
Yeah, I would concur with Mr. Lebo. I've been in real estate business for, I don't know, 35 years, so I must be younger than Mark. But it's probably for real estate tax assessment and payment purposes.
And again, it doesn't matter to the
All fine. It just seems like we really have a lot of records here at this meeting that we've been talking about, but this one we're just sort of like, well, maybe it was for tax reasons.
But at the end of the day, it's a subdivision application of a 5-acre lot into a 2-acre lot, and the 2-acre lot.
Right. At the end of the day, we know why we're here. Yes.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the 2-acre lot that's proposed meets all the zoning requirements. And the 2-acre lot has to be sold.
You could have said that at the first 5 minutes of the meeting.
Okay. Would anybody else like to speak to this application? Sure, Mr. Von Jana, before we close. Yes, sir. Your microphone's up. You have to unmute your microphone.
So, ad nauseum, if there's no way to have a reasonable input into this subdivision back from an original, which was subdivide, then put back together again. Now we're coming back to the table to subdivide, as long as the developer conforms to the setback and all other zoning requirements within this lot, we have nothing to say. Have I summed that up?
If a new house is proposed on this lot after it's subdivided and it's being proposed as of right, and it complies with all zoning regulations, there should be no public hearing on the zoning application that's put in.
Just like every other, it would be
Just like every other zoning lot in town. About a year ago, we approved the 6-lot subdivision on Old Farm Road, right?
Yep.
And they built they sold, it was an estate. They subdivided a big piece of land that was probably 5 acres into 1-acre lots, and they built 3 of the houses.
three of them, and a couple are underway.
We never saw the application again.
Well, okay. It seems, I mean, I understand the jurisdiction line. I really do. I'm in the real estate biz. I get it. I just was hoping that there was some mechanism in this forum to protect reasonable rights of neighboring land folks to say, we live here for a reason. Can't we have some provision in this approval process that says, hey, work with the neighbors in a reasonable way to ensure their privacy and their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because the way this lot is configured, a house could be put almost right up to that 200-foot mark line, a pool put beyond that line, and all the trees cleared, and 3 neighbors would be in the crapper, and that would be unfair. And I don't think that's and life is not fair, and I get that, but I was looking for a reasonable way to find some compromise here that would address those issues in a reasonable way and not reinvent the wheel. But it sounds to me like I'm sitting in the Bob Uecker seats.
It happened on my street. They knocked down a house and built it 2.5 story to lot line and maxed up the house. It's about 2 stories above my neighbor's house. It was built as of right. There's nothing I can do about it. And that's the way it is. Right. I mean, I could say other examples, but
There are many restrictions in place, but
happens all the time.
And
So
there's no
you don't
guarantee.
really anticipate this particular development coming back in front of this board, do you?
Me personally, I do not.
Right. Okay.
But if I was a developer, I would hire Mr. DeVesta's firm and have him plan it out. Since he already did it, it's going to be cheaper than getting a new engineer to devise a whole new plan. So I bet you a nickel Mr. DeVesta's plan is adhered to. That would be my guess.
Yep.
Sorry, can I just clarify one thing, just for my clarification? Because I keep hearing developer, obviously it's reasonable to contemplate that if they're subdividing, they're hoping to sell to somebody, and that is likely a developer. But right now, there's neither the applicant nor anyone involved with the petition is a developer, and are we aware? And I believe the estate has a representative on, and so maybe if Jeremy or Fred don't know this, maybe one of the representatives or one of Mr. DeVesta or Mr. Leba can speak to, is there a pending sale if this is approved to a developer? Are we aware of that? I'm just trying to get some clarification since we keep talking about a developer coming in and building a house.
I can,
If anyone knows.
it's not even been listed or on the market yet.
Yeah, but it's not listed for sale.
That might not be the question. Karen, who are you addressing your question to? The estate?
Whoever could answer, either if you guys know, then but if I know there's representatives from the estate on, and I think people keep saying, there's the developer, but are we aware that there is a developer right now?
Thanks, Kara. Yeah, someone mentioned that it wasn't listed, but Kara, maybe someone from the estate can answer that question.
Yes, I can answer that, and John Ryan's here with me as well. But no, the property's not listed yet, and the estate has no intention of doing anything but putting the 2 lots on the market for sale. They don't want to develop it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mark. You're the applicant, so you're the one the question was directed to. Thank you. I think with that said, I would entertain a motion to close. George Riley, is there a second? Kara Gately, all in favor? Thank you, appreciate it. We will deliver the application at a subsequent meeting.
Deliberate and a vote within a month or two.
You got that, Mark Lebo? Thank you. Okay. On to the next item.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody. Fred, you got it, right? Here we go. Next item, coastal site plan review number 269B as in boy, flood damage prevention application number 305A as in apple, land filling and regrading application number 269B as in boy, Jonathan and Colleen Thompson, 32 Pasture Lane. Proposal to remove the existing driveway and to construct a new realigned driveway, parking court, associated retaining wall, and installation of stormwater management and to perform related site development activities within regulated areas. A portion of the new driveway will continue to be shared with 34 Pasture Lane as it is presently. The 1.05 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the south side of Pasture Lane, approximately 0.42 miles south of its intersection with Nearwater Lane, and is shown on Assessor's map number 51 as lot 57A, located in the R1 zone. This backs up to Gorham Pond?
Yes,
Right.
Darien River, actually.
Okay, Jeremy, what do we got?
Sure, Jeremy Ginsburg, Planning and Zoning Director. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. This is 32 and 34 pasture are next to each other. We're going to focus on number 32 first. 32, I'll call it, is the more eastern of the two lots. It has an existing residence on it with a driveway, and they're cutting into a slope to create a parking area. Because this is on the Darien River, we referred it to the state of Connecticut DEP. They sent an email dated January 7, 2021, saying we find no concerns on this proposal. You also have in your packet comments from Darren Ostafine, I believe, Assistant Director of Public Works, and Harry Rocheville of McCord Engineering is here to describe the proposal, the various aspects, and respond to your questions and concerns.
Hold on 1 second. Great, sorry about that. Who's the person that's doing?
Harry Rocheville.
Harry Rocheville.
Thank you, Jeremy.
If you could, there you are. Great, thank you. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Harry Roach. I'm with McCord Engineering, representing the Thompsons. As Jeremy said, we are going to be discussing two properties today, and we'll focus on number 32 first. If I could just have the ability to share my screen, I can bring up some site plans to walk you guys through the project.
You're sharing the screen, right, Harry?
Yep.
Got it.
There we go. Okay, can everyone see it?
Not yet. There we go. Got it.
Okay, so these I have the both parcels up just to begin. 32 is the rear lot here, and I will go over to that site plan first. As Jeremy stated, the existing residence, the property is currently developed with an existing residence, hardscape in the rear, a pool over here, and there is an existing driveway currently that is the faded line here, which, you know, more or less the proposed driveway sort of follows the same path. Also, as Jeremy stated, the beginning portion of this driveway is shared with lot 34 over here, this lot right here, and it will continue to do the same.
It's a brand new house.
This isn't that old.
I'm not sure when year the house was, but it does seem fairly new. I would say in the past 10 or 15 years, if I were to guess. So the project on this lot is essentially remove the existing driveway and install a new driveway with a parking court here where my cursor is located now. That parking court will cut into an existing grade, and to mitigate the amount of cutting required, we will be proposing a retaining wall here with some steps up to existing grade. Also, right now, the driveway is sort of curved here, so we'll be extending that portion out to add additional backup space for the existing garage here. Since we will be removing the entire existing driveway and proposing a new one, we will be capturing most of the stormwater from this driveway because there is a natural high point here. Stormwater from this point this way to the north will be captured by the 34 Pasture Lane detention system, but we will get into that on the next application. So from this point on, we'll have stormwater captured by driveway drains here and here, which will be directed to a stormwater management system designed for water quality volume, since this property is within the coastal zone. That stormwater system will then overflow to a riprap splash pad here, which is in a landscaped area, and that'll allow the overflow stormwater to discharge into the Darien River, as the entire property now does flow that way. There is no existing stormwater management systems on site now. Everything is captured by driveway drains here and here, and just directly flows into the river with no mitigation. So as far as the floodplain impact, there will just be a one-time impact to install this overflow pipe, and there will be no filling involved to do that. There will be erosion controls proposed, down gradient of all of the site work here to mitigate impacts to the Darien River. Jeremy did mention Darren's comments. We did review those and took no exception to any of them. One comment he did have was to confirm the infiltration capacity of where we locate our stormwater management system. Since it's located where there is an existing driveway, I was able to do a percolation test just west of it, where I could get down to the soil layers that detention system will be located at, and we confirmed suitable infiltration rates. He also did mention a deep test pit. We did one here and here, again, because this is located where there is a existing driveway. We weren't able to do one in the location of the system, but since these two holes were very similar soil layers, we can make a fair assumption that this will be the same, and we told Darren that we would confirm that prior to construction.
So that's items 10 and 12 on Darren's memo, you think? There's no PEC threshold strongly recommended.
Correct.
No.
That is 10 and 12, correct.
Thank you. So you're going to do
And
those.
also comment number 8, we have no problem upon, as a condition of approval, adding the elbow to the driveway drains as he specified. We can revise the drawings to do that when we get to the next stage here.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And that essentially wraps up this application. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
This one to me looks pretty straightforward. We're moving a driveway.
Yes.
Correct.
No parking court, cut into the slope.
Right.
And
Okay.
cutting image.
Okay, and new good drainage. I understand. Any commissioner, any questions on this application?
I'm just kind of confused about the two applications, but not so much the driveway.
All right. Let's see. Let's finish this one first, and then we'll get into the other one. Kara's good. George looks okay. Jen's okay. I think we're all right. Would anybody in the general public like to speak to this application? You see anybody, Fred?
No, we have no one in the chat box.
Okay. Great. With that being said, I would entertain a motion to close this application. Is that George Riley? Yep, motion to close. Kara, you got a second? I can't hear you. You're muted. Larry Warble, second. Larry, second. All those in favor? Great. Thank you, sir. Is that 6-0?
Did we lose Jim Rand?
No.
Where's Jim Rand? I don't know. Jen Leahy turned off her camera too.
He's here, but I think we lost Jim Rand somewhere along the way.
Okay, so is that, we're gonna say
5-0 to close the hearing.
5-0 to close the hearing, 1 abstention. All right, thank you. I'm gonna leave my landscaping plan out because it's got both properties on it. All right, hold on 1 second. Let me click this stuff. All right, here we go. Next, coastal site plan review number 353, land filling and regrading application number 492, 34 Pasture Lane, LLC, 34 Pasture Lane. Proposal to construct a new single-family dwelling on a new vacant lot, install a pool, terraces, a new driveway and parking court, associated retaining walls, and the installation of a stormwater management, and to perform related site development activities within a regulated area. A portion of the new driveway will be shared with 32 Pasture Lane as it is presently. The 1.43 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the south side of Pasture Lane, approximately 0.42 miles south of its intersection with Nearwater Lane, and shown on assessor map number 51 is lot 57 and located in the R1 zone. Tonight we have Mr. Harry Rochfeld viewing this. Jeremy, what do we got?
Similar to the adjacent application, we referred this to the state of Connecticut DEP. They sent an email dated January 7, 2021, saying they find no concerns on this proposal. I believe Darren Ostefine sent in written comments,
Yes, he does,
which are in your packets. Harry Rocheville again is here from McCord Engineering to review with you. This is now a vacant lot, and in this case, they're putting in a new single-family residence in the flood zone and with drainage to address water quality. And if I recall, there's no work in the flood zone. The most southern part of the property is in the flood zone, but they're not doing any work in that area. Jerry?
That's correct, Jeremy. Harry Rochel for the record again with McCord Engineering. If you can see my screen now, I pulled up an aerial from the GIS showing this was the property that we just discussed, and this is 34. This is the house that previously existed. Looking at the demo permit, it looks like it was demolished in October 2019. So the house that's shown here is in generally the same location as the house we'll be discussing, and you can see that both of these properties did share a portion of the existing driveway. So now I'll go to our site plan here. Okay. So the proposal here is a proposed 4-bedroom residence with some hardscape and a pool to the rear. The residence will be accessed via the common driveway to a parking court here that will access the garage and serve some additional parking over here. As I previously stated on the prior application, there's a natural high point in the driveway here that happens to be the same grade as the roadway here where the curb cut is. So we'll be capturing all of this stormwater as part of this property stormwater management system, and that'll be directed with runoff from other driveway drains in the roof leaders of the house and some drains around the pool area, and all directed to the same stormwater management system located down here. Again, designed for water quality volume since it is in the coastal area. And we were able to do soil testing in this area and confirmed very favorable conditions, as Darren stated in his memo. The previous property was connected to sewer in the road. So we will be connecting to the sewer lateral that remains from that one. As part of Darren's comments, well, we will need to do some further investigation upon this approval when we can, get going on digging and everything to confirm if that will be a gravity or a pumped connection. So that will be forthcoming to address Darren's comments there. There is some minor grading going on in this area that is more of landscaping than anything. This is a high point on the property and provides a great view of the Darien River in the waters downstream of it. So the grading here, and you'll see with some stone paths, is really just landscaped, stone dust or mulch paths. It's just a nice little landscaped area, and it will have a nice high point access up there to view. So that is some of the filling we'll be doing. Again, it does work with the natural grades on the site. Again, we'll be proposing retaining walls on the downside of the pool here. They will be designed by a structural engineer as they are over 4 feet, and that is being designed now. And that'll also mitigate the filling that we'd have to do down gradient of the pool, and that would probably trace down into the floodplain if we were to do filling. But since we'll be doing the retaining walls, we'll be mitigating the filling required and impact to the floodplain. As Darren said, our We don't have any impact or any disturbance in the floodplain on this application. But we do have a level spreader here. It's our closest disturbance. Again, it will be a one-time disturbance to install that overflow pipe with no material being brought in to do so. And that overflow will serve two things. It'll be an overflow for the detention system that'll outlet to a junction box here. And it would also take the footing drains from the new house and also discharge that level spreader to create a sheet flow of all that overflow and footing drain discharge water as opposed to a concentrated flow. So it should conform to the existing drainage paths of everything flowing down towards the Darien River. We'll have erosion controls down gradient of all of the proposed development to make an impact to the neighbor over here to the west and to the south towards the river, and to the other properties to the south into the north. Again, this is a pretty straightforward application as well. It's a house going where there was a previous house not so long ago. Stormwater all meets town standards, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about this application too.
And I'm sorry, Harry, I missed, when you were pointing out the rock walls that are engineered, can you just show me those again on your, make sure we're on the same page?
No problem. I will zoom in here. So you'll see the terrace elevation here is 28 feet at the pool. Existing grade below is 22. And again, over here, this is a shorter wall, so I'm not sure if this one will need to be structurally designed, but it's 29.5 and 26 over here. So a 3.5 foot wall where this is the higher side of the property, and a about 6 foot wall over here.
Okay. I hate when this stuff. Hold on, my battery's running low. Got it. And then on your site plan, see behind where the Caltex are, all that yellow.
Yep.
Is that just the hay bales for temporary, or is that what is that?
Yes, this is the erosion controls, the yellow. This is exactly right. Hay bales on the downside of the silt fence to provide extra double barrier protection during construction. It will be temporary.
Got it. Okay. I think I'm good. I understand. I've been out to the site. I looked at it. In your little rock wall, that shows up. I mean, your little walking path on that ledge piece shows up on your landscaping plan.
It does. I will go to that plan.
You want to have to talk about the landscaping plan for a minute?
No, it's really a single family house, so whatever they want to build there, there's no requirement to landscape.
Okay. Do you want to just talk about that for 2 seconds so everybody knows what you're doing? I mean, you
Sure. Absolutely. This was prepared by Catherine Herman Design, not by our firm. But yes, essentially there is walking paths here to a high point. I believe this is a bench. As I said, a high point, you get a great view of the Darien River down over here. And then also just some mode pathways, sort of connecting the two properties and providing pathways down towards the water. I'm sure there'll be landscaping all about too with a bench here. That's
okay.
That's the essence of the landscaping plan.
Any question? Want to go first? Carrie, you want to go first?
Can you just describe the landscaping plan to me again? Where's the walking path? I can't really see it. I'm not good with
Sure, no
things.
problem. That's okay. So I'll zoom in on them.
Oh, okay.
So
Sorry.
there's one right here off of the parking court that comes up and along sort of this high point here. You can see elevation 39.
Okay.
So all this sort of just is, a roundabout walking path, and then down over here off of the pool staircase, it sort of meanders down towards the water where this is all exists as well. It's overgrown now, but I'm sure it'll be lawn as it used to be, matching the neighbor's property over here. But that's really all it is. Just some mode pathways that'll be planted with meadow plantings in between.
And this is still 34.
Correct.
This is 34, correct. So the line dividing the two is right here.
Okay.
So this one's 34, this one is 32.
Okay.
You good? You good, Kara? George Riley, your mic is on.
Yeah, just a quick inquiry, if I may. I'm thinking about your drainage, and I know you've got a level spreader, so it could be sheet-like over what I guess is 32. But I'm thinking if I own 32, and I know this is the same owner of both, but if I were 32, wouldn't I be a little concerned about all the water you're going to be sending over my property? Why wouldn't you just run a pipe from that property, especially now since you got the same owner and you don't need an easement or anything? Just run that down to
Well,
Darien River.
Yep, no problem. Well, 32 is over here. So the way the topo lines up, actually everything that overflows from that level spreader will just make its way down to the tidal wetlands. So there's no way of this water to get over to 32. If you see the, I'll zoom in on the contours here. This is all existing.
I see.
Everything
Okay.
makes its way down to the river.
I'm sorry, I was misconstruing where the house is then. Okay. Yeah, all right, I guess that makes sense. Yep. Okay.
So the water heads due south versus going east.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, okay. I know it's a sharp drop off, so it's gonna, I think, be, some volume, but if the house isn't there, then I get it. That was my misunderstanding. Thank you.
Okay. Larry Warble, any questions, or Jen, any questions? Larry's good. Jen looks fine. Jim Ram, we lost. I want to open up to the public.
Sure.
Anybody in the public like to speak to this application? Fred, just check the checkbox for us.
Yep, no one in the chat box.
Okay. That being said, we're ready for your closing statement, Harry.
I think I covered everything. I appreciate everyone's time, and I think it's a pretty good application for both of them.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close. Somebody give me a motion to close. George Riley. Is there a second? Larry Warble. All's in favor? 5-0. 5-0. Fantastic. Harry, we'll get you we'll deliberate copy, get you a resolution in a couple of weeks.
Appreciate your time.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you. All right, let's keep the ball moving. I promised everybody we'll be out of here by 10 o'clock as part of my campaign speech. We're getting terrible. Where are we? The next one, landfill regrading application number 491, Daniel and Jennifer Hageney, 6 Berry Lane. Proposed to install a pool, fire pit, terraces, and perform related site development activities on the 1.63 plus or minus acre subject property at the southern terminus of Berry Lane, approximately 465 feet south of its intersection with 5 Mile River Road, and is shown on Assessor map number 66 as lot number 54 in the R1 and R1/2 zones. For the record, before we get started, my little son, Stephen, who's a freshman in high school, is very good friends with Casey Hageney, who is the son of the applicant. I feel I can see this application non-biased, but if anybody wants me to recuse myself, I surely will. That being said, sounds like I'm going to stay. Jeremy, what do we got?
Sure. This is Jeremy Ginsburg, Planning and Zoning Director. As Mr. O'Vanny noted, this is a proposal for a regrading permit. If you came to the site, you'll see that the pool is proposed for the low spot in the backyard. And so what they're looking to do is raise the grade in that area to bring it up a few feet, anywhere from 2 to 4 feet generally. We do have in your packets and submitted for the record an email from Assistant Public Works Director Darren Ostafine. And also, as of January 7th last week, the EPC granted approval as an agent approval. It's kind of was a unique situation in that there's really no wetlands around there, but the town map showed that there were. So the applicant was able to get a very quick approval because this clearly won't be impacting any wetlands because he's basically putting the pool in the low spot in the neighborhood. So basically that's what's triggering the application is the fact that they're bringing this pool and a related area around it up to be a little closer to the elevation of the house. And
Okay.
Brian Smith is here to explain the application.
Okay, Brian, welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The floor is yours.
Good evening. Let me just pull up this plan. Okay, for the record, Brian Smith from DeAndrea Surveying and Engineering. Just want to thank the Chairman and the commission members for your patience and time this evening. Everybody can see my map, correct?
Yes, we can. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So yeah, I'm here representing the Hageneys, and what they would like to accomplish is to expand their existing rear yard patio, creating a small sitting area, have a proposed master bedroom terrace just off the master bedroom, just east of the dwelling, small modest fire pit just south of the sitting area, leading down to a proposed pool patio with a proposed spa and 720 square foot in-ground pool. As Jeremy touched on, in order to create a flat terraced area for the pool, we would have to add some fill ranging from about 1 foot going all the way to about 4 feet at the southeastern corner. That's what our proposed grading depicts there. We had received comments in the past from DPW, and what we did was we modified our drainage collection. Rather than spacing yard drains in select areas, we added a trench drain along the northern edge of the pool patio, which all the pool patio will be pitched to. We refined our grading and strategically placed 3 junction boxes in the lawn areas that will collect all the new impervious coverage runoff as well as the adjacent lawn areas. That will all be piped subsurfacely to a retention system that will infiltrate water back into the groundwater system. That's here where I'm circling now. And then we've equipped overflow relief from this system through 4 pop-up emitters at surface. The way that the current rear yard drains, it drains into the property from the west, travels east, and then starts to head north as we get into the low-lying area on the eastern side of the property. With our grading and the way we designed our overflow relief from the retention system, the drainage patterns will be mimicked to pre-existing conditions, which was our goal. We have met the town requirements for infiltration volume as well as peak runoff attenuation. And with this system, we actually experience a net decrease in total volume runoff after construction, as well as a decrease in all storms ranging from the 1-year to the 100-year storm event. So neighboring properties should experience not only a less volume runoff, but at a slower rate also. So we see this drainage system as being an improvement to the entire neighboring area. The pool meets all zoning setbacks. We have the zoning setbacks depicted on the plan. And as Jeremy mentioned in his opening, due to wetlands being shown on the town GIS on adjacent properties, we have applied for and were granted an administrative approval at the EPC level. The landscaping and planting plan was submitted, and that was prepared by Neil Brunetti. I can comment on anything with the planting plan that I can help you with. I'm not a landscape designer personally. From what my review of it, it looks that the owners really just want to create a nice privacy area for their new sitting areas in the pool, which should also help with any concerns neighbors have as far as seeing the new construction. Last thing, the DPW comments were received on December 16th. We addressed and resubmitted those to planning and zoning on December 29th. I hadn't heard anything back from the town as of today, but we feel that we addressed those comments in full completion. Besides that, I really have nothing else to add. I'm here to answer any questions or hear any comments that the commission or public may have.
Great, thank you. It's not a big deal, but the zoning stuff is on your plan, right? We're looking at your plan, which is 1 of 1, but there's no zoning box, right? I'm not missing something, am I?
No, I'm sorry. I was speaking to the zoning setbacks for the western and southern property lines. We had shown 25 and 40 foot.
Good. I know you addressed Darren Ostafine's note. Is there anything special on here that we missed? Proposed drainage plan, you didn't have anything strongly recommended? The test holes are outside the area is not favorable. Like that's the deep test holes are okay. And then an as-built survey is going to be required at the end of the day. I got you. I'm good. Any commissioners want to speak to this application? Questions?
I just have a question. I see that you addressed because number 7 and number 8 from Mr. Ostafine's December 16th email. But what about number 6? So if you had used the fresh meadow approach, would your findings regarding the runoff and the decrease despite the large increase of impervious land have been the same?
I have not performed that analysis, so I wouldn't be able to comment on the record what those findings would be. Gut feeling is if we were required to do the fresh meadow approach, we may not have had the decrease in all storm events because we would not been able to take credit for the existing driveway and dwelling that are currently on the site that are proposed to remain unchanged. Now, most of the driveway in the northern half of the dwelling pretty much drain towards Barry Lane in the northern direction. So if the fresh meadow approach was implemented, we may see. I really don't think that there'd be a difference in the rear yard area where we analyzed, to be honest.
Yeah. It wasn't required. Isn't the front driveway, isn't that pebbles anyway? That's not asphalt, is it? It's pebbles, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So it's pervious, right? We don't know. Okay, you good, Kara?
Yeah, I just was, because I was just sort of one of the issues he raised, and I saw in their response that they agreed with his statement in number 6. But again, it's not required to use the fresh meadow approach. I just was wondering, since there's a lot going on, and also fill and regrading. So I just wanted to make sure that we were comfortable with the analysis. But I've seen Mr. Osterfine is, so that's fine.
Not a problem. George Riley, any questions? Larry Warble, any questions? George is giving me a thumbs up, I think. Larry Warble's giving me a thumbs up. We good? All right, open to the public. We just
public, yeah.
Okay. Would anybody to the public, in the general public, like to speak to this application? Anybody in the chat box, Fred? Nobody in the chat box, right? Down to 14 people. Okay, that's good. That's it, right? We're good. It's a big site. It's a 1.63 acre site, right? In a 1 acre zone, right? They have plenty of land. Okay. With that said, I would entertain a motion to close. Who's up? Larry Warble, I think it's your motion this time. There he is, Larry. And George is Kara's gonna second. I saw her smile. There you go. All in favor?
Close.
Proposed, closed. That's 5-0. All right, 5-0 and 1 abstention. Mr. Smith, thank you for your presentation. Very nice. Tell the Hageneys I said hello.
Will do.
We'll get back to you in a couple of weeks with an answer and a resolution the week after that.
Thank you very much.
Right. Wait, I got out of conflict on that one, right? All right, moving on. I think that's the end of the public hearing, right?
Correct.
Fantastic. Okay. It's now 10 to 10. So we have a couple things to approve or read.
Yeah, you have 2 draft resolutions.
And then something else. All right, here we go. General meeting. Special permit application number 319, Mathnesium of Darien, 1082 Boston Post Road. This is Mathnesium that is moving into the cold people, right?
Cold plate cryotherapy.
Right, I've never been inside there. So this is kind of a temporary application approval for them to move from one side to the other side where Mathnesium's building gets demoed and redone. Pretty straightforward application presented by the developers at Big Water Properties. I did not see any typos or scrivener errors or anything major. It's only supposed to be there for about 18 months. Questions, comments, scrivener's errors, changes? If none, looking for a motion to approve as submitted. That's Kara Gately, yes. Looking for a second. George Riley. All's in favor?
5-0.
5-0, fantastic. Mr. Genovese, you're approved on that one. Next. Special permit application, Dynamic Martial Arts, 1540 Boston Post Road. This is another one of the Corbin project, phase 2A, 1A, I think we're called, the 1B. They're existing on Corbin Drive. They're moving down the road to with Nolita. I think is it Nolita? No, Nola. Nola. And next to Linda Mood Bell, across the street from the library. This is a permanent location. We have a submitted thing. It's on the second floor. Parking we went over. Second floor plan was submitted. I did not see any errors, changes, typos, or anything of that nature. Anybody else see anything? Questions, comments? If none, looking for a motion to approve as submitted. I think it's George Riley. Yep, George Riley. Kara Gately, is that a second? Or oh, Kara Gately's a second, thank you. All's in favor? Larry Warble, there he is.
5-0.
Jennifer Leahy also. Yep. Jen's still here. 5-0 also. Fantastic. That's done. The last is deliberations only. Okay, we still have time. We're not 10 o'clock yet. Special permit application number 317 ELD Street Properties LLC, 1049 Boston Post Road. Proposed to establish a new 1,896 square foot campus real estate office and a portion of the first floor occupied by Tina Bagone. This is the location that's a vacant storefront located next to Sipster's. On Sipster's on one side. Office is upstairs. Uncle's Deli's on the other side. And the next to Sipster's is White House, which is William Pitt Sotheby's Realty. They want to put a store in the back and a real estate office
on the first floor.
Larry Warby, Larry, want to go first?
I don't know. I thought I might want to hold back and hear what other people say first, but
last if you want to.
You know, obviously, I think this one is. We've talked about it, a couple different items about it. Parking is obviously a big issue, and also, you know, a town plan that basically says we don't want to have any real estate offices or businesses and retail spots downtown. My feeling is I tend to feel that I try to do as little as possible to get in the way of people trying to get things done, you know, as government and all that. So I'm, you know, and we've looked at parking on application after application after application. And we keep saying, well, you know, they don't really have enough parking, but we don't want to hold them up. And I just don't feel it's fair to the applicant to make this the one where we draw the line on parking. So and plus the fact that if they were upstairs, they could park, they could have as many as they wanted. It's just got too much hair on it. I think from my perspective to just, you know, to not let someone use, you know, a building that they bought and invested in and want, you know, they've got a tenant that wants to be there. You know, if it was real estate office row, as you know, as David Genovese mentioned in talking about why the plan was there, and there was, you know, office after office office. So yeah, that would kill the walking around from downtown. But as I said repeatedly during the hearings, every nice town I've ever been to has a number of real estate offices in their downtown. Ridgefield has them, Buchanan has them, everybody has them. And I feel they add to the downtown flavor. So I'm inclined to approve, but I know I may be, no. So I'll just say that those are my feelings on this one.
Thank you, sir. George, why you want to go next? I'll leave Kara Gately best for last.
Yeah. I'm ready to say that I'm not prepared at this moment to say that it's impractical or undesirable to have a retail operation in that building. I don't think it's been given a fair chance to find a tenant like that because COVID has been, a problem for most of the time that the property has been marketed. I think it's a prime retail location. I don't know what the retail operation would be in particular, but if it's a clothing store, where I don't think we're going to have the same kind of traffic issues as a real estate office does. I mean, clearly there are going to be 10 plus cars on occasion for the real estate office when you have an office meeting. Looking forward to those days when they all gather again in one place. But the key to me is I just don't think I can say that it's impractical or undesirable to have a retail. And as I understand it, we need to make that finding in order to permit a real estate office there. So that's really the underpinning of it. I don't think a real estate would have a very attractive window on the street level. So they're looking at the first floor use. Well, I don't know. I just think a retail operation makes more sense. I don't think you're going to have drop-ins walking by a real estate office to go look for a house. I think nowadays you start online or you're going to have an appointment with your Jennifer realtor or something like that. So anyway, I don't like the idea at this point.
So it sounds like Kara, you're up next.
I follow, but sort of there's points that both Larry and George raised that I definitely agree with in terms of I'm not really in favor of standing in the way unnecessarily, nor of wanting vacant first floor locations right in the center of town. I think you drive around certain towns where that's happening, and looks like it sort of almost leads to like a down, like once there's one kind of seems to spread a little bit when there's vacancy right there at the first level, especially in places that want to be pedestrian friendly and sort of are a destination, or you want them to be a destination. Having lots of vacant spaces right on the first floor kind of, I think, is an impediment to growth, an impediment to development. But I'm not a developer, so I could be totally wrong about that. But like George said, I am not really at any way ready, nor do I think there's any sort of basis really to make the finding that it's impractical or undesirable for retail, because it's been retail, except for the rant, during the war. That's obviously that was an anomaly for a good reason. So I don't think in a zone for retail we can. I just don't see how we can make that finding, and I don't think sufficient evidence, has been provided to support that finding, since there's retail there, and had been there, and there's retail next door, and there's retail, down the street and across the street, and with less desirable parking situations. So right across the street, where we just gave a temporary approval for somewhere to move in, that's dicey sometimes if you pulled in forward to get out of. But we haven't found that that's undesirable or impractical for retail. And at times, I've found that tricky. So yeah, I'm not sort of there where I can make that finding. And if we have to make that finding in order to approve this, you know, I think that's a struggle. You know, I don't, yeah. And I also, on the sort of what, with respect to what's appropriate in that zone for first floor locations, while the plan town of, you know, conservation development, like I believe Attorney Maslin stated and pointed out, it doesn't in their state, nor do our regs, that there's a ban or a policy banning, you know, the plan town of development conservation does speak to, you know, promoting and the desirability of walkability, of pedestrian friendly, you know, of downtown areas, which that area is included in sort of the areas that we wanted, that development of pedestrian friendly was encouraged. And also, you know, encouraging you know, sort of a destination, making Darien a destination for others. And, you know, having a lot of banks and financial institutions, which are great, like we love them in town. But on the first floor, you know, kids or you know, people don't want to come and walk around and look at banks, or I don't know if they want to look at real estate agents. I do know what George's saying, Larry's saying though, it's cute to, you know, I do often myself in certain places look in the window, want to see the houses and stuff. But I don't pop in and buy them. So, yeah, but like I said, I don't, you know, they seemed like a great applicant, and you know, the people who wanted to move in there, and I don't, you know, having a building be empty isn't desirable either. So, I don't know, it's a tough one.
It's a tough one.
Filling houses retail? I don't know. Does it?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I mean, I'm not passionate about this one, but it's, you know, I do consider, you know, Steve, you're in commercial real estate.
Yeah.
There's retail, you know, residential retail real estate, and there's, if it was a commercial real estate office going in, then no way. Right? It'd be an entirely different animal.
Thanks.
Well, I mean, yeah, no way.
Thanks.
Because you're too boring.
I'm not, you know,
You'd kill downtown. You know?
it is a hard one. I would take the opportunity to go next, and we'll let Jennifer go last. But I look at what we did on the other side of town. There's another real estate office on the other end of town, which is Coldwell Banker. We approved Huntington Learning Center on the other end of town. We approved what's 600 what is it? Comm, which is not a retailer.
Is that the same zone?
It's the same CBD zone, right?
Right, those are personal service uses. Those aren't really office uses.
Correct. Yeah. Those are personal service uses where, and I remember when we did Kumon, we made them sell, like, you know, flyers in the window or worksheets in the window to make it look more.
But we also make, remember some of the hair salons over there? Like I remember, and we're selling, you know, hair supplies and brushes or whatnot.
So they're selling shampoo, you know, and supplies and whatnot. So that makes it look retail-y in the front. You know, I mean, I hear what Larry says, that says you could, you know, window shop for a house, you know, on you know, whatever trail, hollow trail road that we were talking about. It is a hard one. Relative to the parking, I mean, I get it. I mean, if we think there's a parking problem, there's never been a study that we've ever had that there's effectively a huge parking problem downtown. There is municipal parking. If you was on the second floor and they put 10 offices on the second floor, you know, everyone would be upstairs and they'd park someplace in town if all 10 agents were there. You know, I've looked at houses and I've never been inside a retail branch of a, you know, a Coldwell Banker or a Compass or anything. I meet the person at the property. I don't think I ever did. I mean, I've only bought one or two houses. I can buy a lot of them. So it's in, you know, so I see it as a quasi retail thing. I don't know if it's if the retail market is not going to lease. That finding, trying to find that finding and the bounce of that finding is hard. And I agree with George and I agree with Kara. It's very hard to find that finding. David Genovese leased to 5 stores during a pandemic. You know, a shoe store, a pliable store, and something else. So that finding tough. You know, the warm, the coat people, the lady that sell the coats. You know, they're a half a block away, and there's no parking for Greaves. There's no parking for the warm store. There's no parking for pliables. You know, behind that. You know, so it's a tough one. I'm more of the you know, of the mindset to approve it. You know, to approve the application. I think it'd be good downtown. The store's not been vacant for a long time. It's been vacant for 6 months or maybe it's about a year, right? It came on the market pre-pandemic.
Can we approve it without making a finding that it's impractical or undesirable for retail?
Yeah, see that part, I don't know. I mean, that's you know, it's still right now. If I'm a yes, Larry's a yes, George is a no, and Kara's a no.
I don't know about.
I get it. No, we still have to hear from Jennifer, and we still have to hear from Jim Rand. I get it. You know, there's nothing set in stone.
You have to make that finding, correct?
You would have to make that finding specifically in those sections of the regs.
What did we do?
I gotta say, I don't think quasi retail flies. I mean, you can compare it to all you want, but it's not retail. It's specifically a real estate office.
It's a real estate office. 100%. I don't disagree with you. You're not selling houses inside that building. You might sign some documents inside.
You may be, but the regs specifically provide for real estate offices and not quasi retail offices or space.
No, we didn't hear from Jennifer. And I apologize to Jennifer and Jim Rand, but what did we ever do with Bankwell? Was that pulled and brought back?
I don't know if that came in right before the reg change or that was part of the reg change. I'd have to research how that.
Okay. I'm sorry, Kara?
Yeah, I would be very interested on Bankwell, and if there was a finding made there that that location was undesirable or impractical for retail, or if it was before the reg change.
Bankwell was definitely.
I can clarify that.
Conservation development.
Okay.
Double check on that.
Yeah.
Read the
I can
PDF.
clarify that.
You can? Go ahead.
Yes. So Bankwell came in under the CBD regs where the commission was required to make that finding that retail or a bank use was impractical in that space. However, during the commission's deliberations on that, it came across that the commission wasn't able or willing to make that finding. So the applicant withdrew the application at that time.
Oh, yes, I see.
Did a new application subsequent to that, proposing a zone change that allowed the bank on the first floor.
Wait, say that again?
Right.
They came in with a subsequent application proposing a zone change that would allow the bank on the first floor under certain circumstances. So they came in under that new application and the commission approved it.
Right. They added.
Let Jeremy explain it because Fred, you're cutting in and out. I'm sorry.
Right. So Fred's correct in that they then proposed a new section, a new use requiring a special permit, financial service uses on the first floor, provided that no drive-up window or drive-up ATM shall be allowed, except as may be approved in accordance with section 723D and section 25. But basically, Fred's correct in that the commission was not inclined to approve it, so the applicant pivoted, submitted a different application, which allowed, in essence, a bank with no drive-through, no drive-up.
Great.
And
Great.
That's how it got approved.
Some of you guys were not on the commission at the time. They had a real estate broker, a retail broker come in and say the retail market's dead. You know, he worked for Rise. I was like, wait a second, you're a resale broker. You told me the market's dead, and you know, he eventually left. Yeah. Is Jennifer? Are you available, Jennifer Leahy? The microphone is off. I know Jennifer was sick, and we lost Jim Rand. So what can we do?
Well, we'll have to take this up again. Obviously, there's no majority at this point. Either
Right.
Fred and I will put it on a future agenda and we'll deliberate more. Certainly, that would be the best thing to do.
Great. Something you can do. I'd like Jim Rand to chime in, and he dropped.
Well, especially in a situation like this where it's helpful for everybody to hear everyone else's discussion and arguments. It wouldn't be fair for me and Fred to discuss it offline with them. So we'll come back to this another time.
That's fine. Is that okay with all the other commissioners that are here?
All good.
Thank you. All right. So sorry for the people on that application. We're going to continue that application deliberations for another day. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. It's now it's 10:15. I lost my campaign promise. Sorry. Commercial design guidelines. This is really just an acknowledgement of what the ARB people did. We got a new book that was submitted to us, which is the entire book.
Was emailed to you yet?
Well, we got it in a text, right?
Oh, you got it.
Everybody, I'm the only one that got it.
You're the only one that has?
I got it. And you guys did. That's what happens when you're chairman.
Would you like a motion acknowledging that we have received it? Happy to move.
No, I'm not going to ask that. It's on the website. But it was created in June of 2009 and were last revised in December of 2020.
That's correct.
So all we're doing is acknowledging what the experts, or the one person is an expert who's a landscape designer, changed up some trees, basically.
Yep, and we've updated it to reflect the new regulations that were amended a few years ago. So,
and I'm sure you did stuff like you can email stuff in instead of faxing it in and all that good stuff. All right, so that's what this is. Okay. If anyone wants to see, you got it. I got a thumbs up from Karen. That makes me happy. Thank you. All right. Any other business? I do apologize. I would like to do one other business item. So I need 2/3 vote to say yes to going into other business.
Well, that'll cost you. What do we got for that?
All right, I'm gonna get fired midterm. It's terrible.
All right, so
Be a little something in the package next week.
All right, there a second. Looking for a second. I got a second from Kara. Awesome, thank you.
Okay.
3 out of 4. Okay, what the other business is, Mr. Vaccaro has to change his basement plan.
1897 Post Road.
That's
right. You may have noticed that the building at the corner of Boston Post Road and Dickinson, which used to be Darien International Tile, Mr. Vaccaro is in the process of building it right now. They run into some problems with the existing walls. So you'll see a lot more was taken down than originally envisioned.
There's 2 walls standing.
There's basically back
inside.
And the side. And so Mr. Vaccaro has asked that while he's at it, could he create a little more basement under what was the old building? Certainly the new part that Mr. Scatino designed, the new, I'll call it extension of the building, was to have a basement all along.
Storage lock.
Right. And in this case, they're asking to create a little new unfinished basement for some of the retailers and possibly even some of the residential for unfinished storage in the basement. A small portion would be.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Was it supposed to, it's a hydraulic elevator, right? So there's already a basement, there's already a hydraulic pit down there.
I would believe that that's part of the new addition.
Okay. So what he's asking for is just to be able to dig out part of the basement.
Yep, we have no problem with it, but it just wasn't shown on the plans and it wasn't envisioned, but being that they're there with the backhoe and ready
to dig a hole.
Dig a hole.
Yeah.
So we wanted to run it by the commission.
Great.
Happy to move approval of the amendment to the plan to permit the basement.
Looking for a second. Carrie, yes. All those in favor?
Off the basement, just kidding.
There you go. Awesome. Thank you.
That's it.
No, but I mean, not that it matters. I think that makes sense to have additional storage, yeah, right? If there's gonna be
He was trying to
retail
save money.
and residential, I think it's desirable to have additional storage spaces for people in apartments or condos, right? 'Cause they don't
My
have.
understanding is that he was trying to save money and not dig the hole, but the walls fell down. I was gonna dig the hole. So
Yeah, so you
more
might as
money.
well use it.
That's right. That's it. Next upcoming meeting is January 26th, which is 2 weeks from today,
2 weeks from tonight.
and that's 7/11, right?
Full night.
Full night on 7/11. Wow, one thing item on the agenda. So everyone gets next week off since I went over too late this week. I apologize. Weekend.
We start 7 a.m. at 7-Eleven at like 3 in the afternoon.
Oh, we can't do that. I'm working. And plus next weekend is Martin Luther King, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
This weekend.
And then, yeah. So you're off. Martin Luther King's Monday. We're off. We have Tuesday off. Man, my hair needs to get cut too. And then after that, we have the February 2nd. With that said, I'd enter a motion to adjourn. I gotta believe that's Kara. George Riley beat you out. Whatever. The second. All's in favor?
Sorry, second.
10 for 10, 20,
right.
whatever it is. Thank
See
you
you
all.
around town, gang.
See you around town, everybody. Thank you.